My name is Sheila Dougherty, and I was an Army nurse in Vietnam, 1966, 1967. I was a captain, and I was assigned to the 3rd Field Hospital right outside of Saigon, near the Tan Son Nhut Air Force Base. And I worked in the ER and the ICU. And I would say that probably, when I think back about the patients, how meaningful it was, the work that I did. And it was real hard for me to continue nursing when I came back, because I don't think you could ever have such fine patients as I did. You know, there were 19, 21-year-olds that were critically injured. And we saved people that were really, really in terrible, terrible shape. And I kind of remember one of our neurosurgeons would say, let's keep him so he can die here and not go home to his mom like that. So it was gut-wrenching, but the best work I've ever done, and truly wonderful, wonderful patients. I did have one patient, like you have bits and pieces, like we had guys that were not expected to live, so we called them expectant, and we moved them over to the side to die, because you had to take care of the ones, because when you triage, you take the immediate, that might be a sucking chest wound, and then you have your minimal, which you put aside because they're not that bad, you don't need to take care of them, and then the ones that are going to die, you move them away too, and you just kind of record the time of death, which was a pretty common occurrence, because when you look at it, we lost 19-year-olds that were PFCs, those are the greatest casualties, greatest amount, and then your 21-year-old second lieutenants. And so they were very young guys that you had, and they came in with a bad head wound. They weren't going to live, so you put them aside, which was really kind of heartless for us, but we didn't have time. But you know, you'd go over and check their vital signs, and I only remember my first one, Sergeant Smith. It's amazing. I don't remember any of the others. He was a 31-year-old African-American, good-looking guy. I went through his wallet, saw his baby and his wife, and so that kind of stuck with me forever. And you wonder, like, if I only could have told his wife that he didn't die alone. You know, stuff like that kind of bothers you. But you know, they were all on the wall, so that's why the wall is a really important memorial. But it's too bad we didn't have the opportunity to tell loved ones, like tell the moms that these guys didn't die alone. So you know, that's the kind of stuff that bothers you. Popular, yeah. I can remember one kid being brought in. This kid he had a face wound, and with somebody like that, you have to keep him sitting up. So he had a chair behind his back, and his face was all blown out. And all I saw was one eye, and the rest was all, you know, like hamburger. And that eye was looking at me, and I remembered saying to myself, "Oh my God, don't let him see you, you know, horrified." And so, because what I saw was the door came crashing. He came in on the stretcher with the chair behind him, and he said, "A round eye." That's what they called us. And so I knew that he was alert, even though he just looked so horrible. But that's, you know, they were really excited when they saw a round eye. And we had perfume too, so we smelled good. But this kid came back, because part of my unit was the emergency room, and then we had our intensive care, and then I'd go over to recovery. So he came back in recovery before I put him into intensive care, and he had a tracheostomy, and his face was all put back together. It was just like a jigsaw puzzle. It was unbelievable. And it was Dr. Peterson, I'll never forget him, Jim Peterson, our plastic surgeon. And Jim went back to El Paso, Texas, and wrote me that the kid came back there and was in that hospital, and he revised his scars, and he didn't send me a picture, but he said it was, you know, really, really looked good. So, you know, that was kind of interesting, seeing a kid like that, and then seeing how well he recuperated. And I spent a lot of my free time at our orphanage. We adopted an orphanage called St. Elizabeth Orphanage, and I was the civic action officer. And we would get in these trucks and take corpsmen out there, and different guys that had gotten into trouble, and we had like a little community service. So that was really meaningful for me as well, because, you know, we built second floor of the orphanage. We took care of all the medical needs. We used to get VC rice that was confiscated from the VC, and we'd take it out to the orphanage. And it was just a wonderful experience. It kind of got me involved, like in community, more or less, because civic action was real important to, to prove to the Vietnamese that we weren't these horrible people. And we would do a lot of things medically for them, and we had children that were mixed race, and most of them were African American Vietnamese, and they were not welcome in that community. So we had a lot of them in the orphanage, and we had a lot of kids that had terrible malformations. So our plastic surgeon, who was a pretty cool guy, we'd go out and explore the community and bring back these people with horrendous deformities and perform plastic surgery. So that was one way of being a reward for us, because we felt like we were doing something good. I went back to Vietnam too in '96, which was very nice. That was healing, because I saw my orphanage. I saw 3 of my 5 nun friends, the sisters, because the government took over the orphanage. And so they took me around to show me all the things that we had done. They had to disassemble a lot of our work, because we used a jet engine for a water reservoir, so they had to get rid of a lot of stuff we installed, because April 18th, 1975 is the start of their new history, and that's when Saigon fell completely. So that's the start of their new history. And so they had to erase all remnants of us. But I found out about my kids, because I used to baptize the kids. Joseph had a shrapnel wound, and he's an artist in Hanoi. And then there was little Coop, which I baptized Bill, and he was a teacher. So it was nice finding out about the kids that we had taken care of there. It was really nice, very, very healing. Oh well, I never really think of myself as a veteran. I tell the story of when I got home. I'm from New York, so I was going home to New York and traveling for a lot of hours and being uncomfortable. I got out at JFK, and 2 gentlemen were walking by me, and they called me a pig. And then when I got in the taxi, he wouldn't take me to Brooklyn, where I lived, and so I got out of the cab and cried. The police officer was standing there, and he got really upset with the cab driver, and said, "You take her home." So it was kind of like that's the way people were greeted, coming home. So it wasn't very nice. And I know that we've changed considerably now. We should, when you see these young people, going through some difficult times, they should be treated with a lot more respect. And Vietnam vets really got a bad rap.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Like I said,
I was unquestionably very idealistic, and it taught me that you got to question. I am very anti-war. I wasn't. That as a woman or a parent, I'd make sure that my kids never went to war, and I would fight that. I think it was kind of sad too, losing the innocence, because it was my country, right or wrong. So it's incumbent upon us to really question, what we do and where we send our young people, because they shouldn't be fodder for the cannons. So I think that we can't be naive, but it still doesn't mean that what we do is all wrong, because I saw a lot of wonderful things done.